Hello, everybody. Welcome to this live book tag extravaganza. Today, I'm going to be doing the M tag, which is an original tag by Gems Books and Reading and Stuff. And you'll see this is a little fun for me by the end, if you don't know already. But yeah, I thought I'd do another live tag. It's Friday morning. Hopefully everyone who is employed is celebrating the heck out of this Friday. I'm going to just start with Jim's questions. He's doing a series of alphabet-themed questions, and so he started with A and kept going because of all the encouragement and enthusiasm. So now he is at N, and so this is M. I'm only one behind, so this is pretty good. This is very time sensitive for me. All right, M is for Manchester and many other cities. See below. He lists a lot of cities. I think he's been to most of them as well. What is your favorite book set in a city beginning with M? And see, I had to look at a map. That also comes up later because I couldn't think of cities that began with M. I thought of Michigan, I thought of Manitoba, I thought of Montana, and then I realized I could go with Miami. So this is a book I just finished this month, so I won't talk too much about it because I'll go over it in the wrap-up. But I read this from Libro FM. It's a climate nonfiction, new release, Miami's Future on the Shores of Climate Catastrophe, basically doing a deep dive into urban planning issues and national planning issues and international as they dovetail with the city concerns. So I thought this was really good and recommend it. I'm going to have all the books lined up in the description after I finish. I didn't want to spoil the surprise, so you'll have to wait till after. So, Miami. Oh, and the author, Mario Alejandro Ariza. So I follow him on Twitter now, and he seems super, super nice. He's a reporter in Miami. Second prompt. M is for murder mystery. Is there a better murder mystery than Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None? And I can't say I've read that one. I've read a fair number of murder mysteries, but I haven't read that one. Have I read any Agatha Christie? Not in English. Those are the sorts of books that I could get in pocket editions in French, and since they're pretty simple language, I would buy a couple when I was in France. I don't think I've ever read an Agatha Christie straight, which is interesting. So what I'm going to recommend instead is another M, Maisie Dobbs. And I'm sure many people here heard me talk about her before. Maisie is actually a nickname for Margaret, funnily enough. So she shares my given name, which makes her even more endearing. But this is a series that's 16, 17, 18 strong from author Jacqueline Winspear. And the reason I love it so much is that well, I like the time period. It's right after World War I to World War II, and great historical detail, great characterization, and a very thoughtful plot with the additional character bolstering of like the science of psychology coming into crime detection and a sort of Zen aesthetic to the way that Maisie solves crimes and saves the day. So I really like that. Anita's here. Hello, hello, another author. She's saying Agatha Christie's The Murder of Roger Ackroyd is my favorite. Oh, so we have some differing opinions with Jim here. Completely valid. I don't know what I've heard about Roger Ackroyd. It might have been people trying not to spoil it when they were giving their review, but I've heard good things, I think. Excellent. The next prompt is M is for Magic Realism. What's the first book you read in the genre of magical realism? Now, there's a lot of debate we could go through on this one, whether it's its own genre, and why it seems to be so firmly attached to Latin American literature, because I don't know if that's necessarily true or representative, but I will say my first book was from Gabriel Garcia Marquez. It's called Love in the Time of Cholera, and I did not like it. I read it for a book club like over 10 years ago, and it was a slog. Um, I think it was a little bit of the machismo coming through that I didn't get into or align with. Oh, okay. Jim's here. He's saying a lot of Indian literature is magical realism too. I did not know that. Okay, we'll throw some recommendations out because I'd be interested in trying one of those. Um, I was going to say I'm reading one right now for Women in Translation Month called Beauty is a Wound by Eka, and it's over there. It's just a long last name, but it's from Indonesia, and that is some magical realism because it's a woman who's been buried for 21 years and then wakes up and starts doing things, and then you find out her backstory, and so yeah, we'll see. I'm not very far into it, but I will finish it. And Jim says like Salman Rushdie. Okay, there's a big name that I haven't read, so a lot to plow in that field. All right, all right. I was going to recommend one that I did like that I think qualifies as magical realism, which is another 3-tiered name, Carlos Ruiz Zafon. And anyone is fans of him, he wrote The Shadow of the Wind, I think The Cemetery of the Dead Library, something. There's a series. The author is no longer with us, but I think he has a good number of books in the series before he died. So I just read the first one and really enjoyed it. It was very gothic and suspenseful, and there was a little bit of the horrific, but it was more like Masterpiece Theater, Edward Gorey horrific, just like weird and wonderful, not necessarily like gross and disgusting and that kind of thing. So there you go. There's my recommendation. Oh goodness. Okay, Jim's just spouting. All right, more magical realism. Murakami from Japan and Orhan Pamuk from Turkey. Okay. Okay. Well, if I'm not drawn to one country's version, perhaps I'll be drawn to another. But all the people you're throwing out have a decided style or reputation that I avoid for a reason. So maybe it's magical realism, maybe it's not. Who knows? The next prompt is about maps. What is your favorite map? Okay, so I have prompts for this one. Let's see. For those people who know that I am going through and decluttering every day of my life, they might be surprised to note that I still have this. This is from 2000 or 2002, somewhere around there. I took Anthropology 50 with Father Calero at Santa Clara, and this is the atlas that I needed. So this is 20 years old, and you know, there's countries, boundaries that are out of date. But I don't know. It's not a big old honking thing. It's just like a sort of brochure size, maybe 30 pages. But for most things, if you want to look up where something is in the country, in the state, because of course they make the US bigger, you know, the shifting boundaries of countries, it's in here. And yeah, so this has been my stowing place. The other map that I really like, I keep in here as well. If anyone can tell what this is without being able to read the little nodules. This is the tube map. And I have spent, it says loves all maps. Yes. Well, yeah. I've spent lots of time looking at the names just for fun, just for diversion, because the London Tube, reflecting the London metropolitan area, has some hilarious names, and they're just fun. They're just fun. Some I definitely can't pronounce. Some just make no sense, and I don't know. There's definitely blog posts about names in Britain and how silly they sound if you're not British. So yeah, it's fun to just tootle around virtually. And then, because we're talking about maps, I thought I would bring up a book that I have yet to read called A Map is Only One Story. This is what I was referencing earlier. And yep, of course, I would expect him to recognize the tube map. Oh, okay, we've got jokes. We've got jokes from Jim on the tube map. There's a stop called Turnham Green, and that's apparently what the sea does to poor sailors. That's funny. That's a funny one. Okay, but this book is edited by Nicole Chung and Mensa Demari. It is A Map is Only One Story, 20 Writers on Immigration, Family, and the Meaning of Home. And so if you remember, I challenged people to talk about home, and Jim took me up on the challenge, and he has a video about this. Because I just thought it's really interesting, both for Americans to reflect on and people who travel a lot or have multiple ethnicities to sort of wrestle with, to think about. And yeah, if you want a Muslim protagonist, I'm sure there's some in here. But it's nonfiction. But anyway, I'm mixing up my prompts. I'm like slicing them in like a mezzaluna in a salad. I hope no one minds. So that is maps. Love maps, along with several people watching. So yay. M is for Mississippi. What's your favorite story set on the Mississippi? All right, so I was not going to go for the classic here. I just read another one called Deep Delta Justice by Matthew Van Meter. And this meandered a bit, just like the Big River. And it's a nonfiction reportage of an incident that happened in the 60s that influenced the very end of the Mississippi River, the beginning of the Delta in southeastern Louisiana, and a legal battle and a lot of issues surrounding that legal battle of someone who didn't do anything but was persecuted by local officials to maintain the power structure, and who was involved and what they did. And it's sort of a micro event that rippled out after 1966 to affect our legal landscape today. And it may sound dry, but it's actually really interesting and stuff I hadn't heard of before, and really well told. So yeah, Bazinga right there. So I don't read too many books about the Mississippi, but I just did one just in time. So it's like Jim made this prompt for me or something. All right, and then we have M is for Muslim. What's the last book you read with a Muslim protagonist? And so I don't take note of this too often, and I hadn't had any books that were like specifically about the Islam religion of the protagonist. So I had to keep going back and going back. I did just finish Half God of Rainfall, which is that epic poem, and it has multiple gods, but it's sort of like a fantasy magical realism-ish thing set with multiple gods in their system. So I don't know if that counted. So if that doesn't count, then I'm gonna have to go back to the classic I read with Heine in March for March of the Moderns, which was A Passage to India by E.M. Forster. Ta-da! So in this one, it is about the religion of one of the main characters and the difference between his approach to life and the colonizers' approach to life, and how they value friendships and perceive their own role in the world. So I've got a video on this earlier in March if anyone is interested, but it is really a good E.M. Forster to read. All right, the next prompt, I'm at a loss. And M is for Mars. What is your favorite book about Mars or about Martians? Sorry, this one I got nothing. I do read science fiction, but not science fiction about Mars. I haven't read Andy Weir's book. I don't think any of the science fiction I've read include Mars. I haven't even watched the movies about them because they just don't appeal. So I'm gonna go with Lena Norms, because she is a YouTuber who makes great life hack type videos, and she counts things with pounds equaling Mars bars. So that is the closest I'm gonna come. So recommending Lena Norms. Oh, does Ray Bradbury have a Mars book? that'd be good. I liked Fahrenheit 451, but that's on Earth. So tell me what the Mars is, and I'll put it on a maybe list. I can't promise anything. All right, after Mars, we have must read. What is a book you feel you must read? And I've seen lots of pushback on this prompt because people don't want to be told what to do. But I'm going to make it pretty easy and just say that, oh, I didn't put it in. Okay, well, Greenwood by Michael Christie. I have it on Libro.fm, and I just started listening to it yesterday. It's a very interesting opening. It's about the year 2038, and the first character we're introduced to is a tour guide in a forest off the coast of Washington State, and her job is to show people trees because there's been a great withering, and old growth forests are something to see and marvel at, but yeah, there's something seriously wrong in the world, and something more wrong is just starting in the first chapter. So very exciting. And the reason I have to read this is because I have a commitment to my book club. We're going to be talking about this Sunday, the 29th, for my Patreon Taste Life Tea Weiss book club. And yeah, we do it every other month. And then when we're not reading a book, we're just doing a book chat on my channel. So low key, and should be good. Environmentally themed one this month. The Martian Chronicles, collection of Mars-based stories. I suppose you're tag teaming here for the Ray Bradbury pick, so I appreciate that. If anyone is interested in Mars, unlike myself, there you go. There's a great recommendation from Ray Bradbury. Next prompt is M is for Margaret. What's your favorite book by Margaret Atwood? And I have to say, I have only read The Handmaid's Tale. I have also only watched part of the first season. I didn't really get into the TV series because I don't have whatever it is, Hulu, that it was on. And so it's just one of those, if it's another series, that's another subscription I have to like find, purchase, keep track of so I don't get overcharged. I'm just like, I don't need it that much. I don't need it that badly. So, yeah. But I am going to read Oryx and Crake, and I did load this one. Oryx and Crake. What a fun name, right? So that is one of her more sci-fi, less fantasy, I guess. And I'm going to be buddy reading that with John of Hey Y'all, Listen Up. We'll see if it's any good. I hear that it's very different from her other work, but then having listened to Steve Donahue's take on this tag, he really doesn't like Margaret Atwood because he says she just waltzed into the sci-fi world and sort of co-opted it because the dystopian thing was trendy. And I'm not sure if that's true, but it's given me a special lens to think of Margaret Atwood's dystopian novels now. So we'll see if that changes with the reading of the book. And then the final prompt is M is for Margaret Pinard. Have you read any of Margaret Pinard's books? Well, yes. Yes, I have. I've read all of them, and I'll pop them up on the screen here. Woohoo! This is my my Twitter banner. I'll just peek up above there. So let's see. I have read them inside out, upside down, and in alternate universe editions, which means alternate endings and characters that no longer exist and things that didn't happen. Wouldn't you like to hear about those? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, so I've got the real behind the scenes look, and my alternate universe editions are extremely rare, so I'm sure they'll be worth a lot of money someday. There are 5, as you saw, and 6 is coming. I'm back working on it. I had a couple week break again from moving from San Luis to Sacramento back to Portland and sort of recovering and having a heat wave and wildfire smoke, but it's been all good for the last few days. Really, really nice, actually. And I sort of thrown my routine out of the window and started over with just like taking bites of it and just like trying to keep munching throughout the day on the manuscript, not the Mars bars. And it's helping. I'm moving through it and sort of bringing old pieces of the manuscript in with new things from all the new research and background research that I did. So 6 is coming. So that's my good news. Pretty happy about that. Was there anything else that I was going to cover today? Oh, okay. So Jim is saying his favorite Margaret Atwood is Cat's Eye. Okay. Cat's Eye. Okay. I think I've seen it and I held back from buying it because it was one of those, I don't want to buy more of an author if I don't know if I like them. And since she's so disparate, I didn't want to take the chance. And I was also thinking of Cat's Cradle, which is Kurt Vonnegut, which is not, no. All right. And then Steve Donahue doesn't like Canadian lit. He doesn't like Alice Munro either. Well, that sounds like a problem. You can't just tar a whole country with one brush. He needs to talk to Jen of Remembered Reads because I'm sure she has some really good Canadian lit to shove in his face. And Jim has read 3 of the 5. So Jim is a champion of the remnants. I love it. I really appreciate it. Because I am an indie author and these books are tiny postage stamps on the big world map of literature. And so it's really hard to, get people's attention and tell them that they're worthy books of consideration. But if you like historical fiction, if you like Scotland, if you like 19th century, if you like stories of families sticking together and gumption and I don't know, stepping out of your social milieu to rock it, then I think you'd enjoy them. All right, so I think I did all my fun pictures. Joe's here. Hello, Joe. I was just gonna ask if you guys have had a satisfactory reading month so far. I'm in my new little filming nook here. I've got my sign. I've got my platform of VHS tapes under there, which no one can see. I've got a Sherlock Holmes film still. I mean, yeah, new writing routine, throwing caution to the wind. It's all August. Who knew? It's a better month than I've ever appreciated August for. Sorry for everyone with August birthdays. Emigration to Nova Scotia. Yeah, and Jim just mentioned that Nova Scotia might be something I'll use for the N tag. So maybe we get a fill in the blank N. That'd be fun. Joe is having a satisfactory reading month, reading a lot, got some reviews to post on my blog. Oh, you post reviews on your blog. Very cool. I don't do reviews anymore, except for authors that I know. And I've been reading a lot this month as well. As I said a few videos ago, I didn't feel good for anything else. And so I was just sitting on the couch reading for hours at a time. So I've got quite a stack for August ready to put it in that wrap up. It's going to be a long one. Jim, very satisfactory. He went away for 9 days and read 6 books. See? Chef's kiss. That is the August vacation we're living for. It's very, very French of you, Jim. Oh no, Anita says it's been a bad reading month for her, which may mean that it's a very productive writing month, in which case, hooray, hooray. Wishing you luck, of course. Melissa, hello, Melissa, fully booked. This reading month has been better than last, running through some graphic novels this weekend as a reset. That's good. Yeah, I like to switch genre, switch format to keep it moving. I don't know. It's kind of like having kale in your diet. And you missed it. I was just talking about Canadian lit. If you have any Canadian lit suggestions for Steve Donahue, because apparently he's biased and needs a good Canadian novel to show him he's wrong, show him the error of his ways, feel free to chime in with a favorite Canadian author. Jim's reading Beloved now. Oh! Okay, I thought you started that a while ago. Maybe you put it down and you're picking it back up. And Joe says, just started because my indie film blog is blowing up. So I'm including indie books and indie music albums now. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is when I talked about, when did I talk about going indie? It was a conversation with someone. This is when you know you're doing too many things. Anyway, I did, and oh, it was with Amrita. That's what it was. And she didn't know much about indie music, and I didn't know much about indie film, and so we mostly talked about indie books. But Joe's got all three. Check it out. Very cool. Jim's saying Beloved could be seen as magical realism because of the possible ghost. Definitely. Yeah, I read that in high school, and too early for me. I just thought it was like horror and scary and a little incomprehensible. I should go back, but I have not. Melissa says, I have no interest in trying to change someone's opinion if they think an entire country has no good lit. I'm reading between the lines, but assuming that's the deal. Lol. Yes. He probably wouldn't say it about Indigenous Canadian literature. I'm guessing. But maybe we could suggest that. We could say Nupaming, because apparently that is a hit on BookTube. And yeah, he might be turned around by that one. We do that. Anita is saying her favorite Canadian author is Guy Gavriel Kay, but he's literary fantasy. Yes, he's on my list to read, and I've definitely been pulled in by those covers. But I haven't read him yet. I hear it's a little steamy. Is that true? Or am I mixing it up with someone else? I don't know. I don't think that would be Steve's jam, but who knows? Who knows? Joe says, I'm about to start on 2 Canadian authors in the next couple weeks. Oh, is that just coincidence, or are they releasing soon? That's fun. Like I said, I'm reading Oryx and Crake by Margaret Atwood at the end of the month with John, and the other 2 are translations. So I don't think I have any Canadian lit on the hook. I definitely have Canadian lit on the shelves, but yeah, not in the immediate planned future. So, but I like that. I like that discussion. I might have missed that there was a Canadian lit question in the C tag, but yeah, I'll go back to Canada. I'll hit some Nova Scotian authors up in the N tag, perhaps. Sounds good. Read K, not steamy, but his books will break your heart. Okay, maybe that was it. Heartbreaking. All right, all right. I will, well, is it something key? Is it, I can't remember the name. Fukiel's Key? There's some weird character name. I think that's the one I was planning on starting with. Joe says, they released earlier in the year. One's going to be part of my retro reviews. Okay. Are you doing mostly new reviews? That's harder to keep up with. Someone recently was talking about backlist. There's a tag, that's why. There's a tag going around called Backlisted Books, and it's on my list. I think Courtney tagged me because I read a lot of backlist books. And yes, I'm very excited to do that because I think the industry considers things backlist if they're like 6 months to a year old, which is ridiculous. This is just like Hollywood and the cult of youth. Like, get over it, please. But yeah. So yes, I'm gonna support backlist, and I like that retro reviews. That sounds good. Joe is trying to do new releases, but I have so many I neglected for so long. Need to mix it up. That sounds good. That sounds good to me. That way, you know, you're not always like chasing the next wave. You could say, this is intentional. Here's a new one. Here's a retro review, or I'm just catching up review. Yeah. Melissa said anything 5+ years. Yeah, I mean, that's probably what readers would think, because they come out so quickly, and they, you know, people have other things to work on. They're not like focused on books coming out. But if you're an author and you're watching all the launches, then it's more clear, like, okay, they had their day in the sun and now they're in the back, kind of thing, unless they're huge. So different definitions for different audiences. Makes sense to me. Joe's going with 1 new, 2 old kind of idea. Sounds good. I mean, my let's see, I've got one arc this month. I've got maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 new releases just because the Libro thing. So a high month for new releases for me, but that's definitely not the usual. Don't read enough new releases. What's enough? What's enough? It's just what you know, if you're doing the hashtag read own, what is it? Owned TBR. There you go. Owned TBR is the one where people are trying to read what they have. And I'm all for that because, yes, I love buying new books, obviously, because of the haul that I did for number 100. You can see I'm not going to try to get that past you. But I also have a whole bunch of books that I need to read, which you also saw. So, yeah. Owned TBR. That's it's something that I can definitely get behind. 3 of the books I finished this month were written in the 19th century. It's August. I know there's a Faulkner in August. I know Women in Translation is August. What were you reading 19th century books in August for, I wonder? I wonder if there's a prompt or if it was just happenstance. That could happen too. P.S. I have read a book that is concerning this postcard, just happened to come into my possession at the same time as I read the book. And it's my first 5-star read of the year. And I'm going to wait till I wrap up to tell you, but so good. So good. Emotional roller coaster. Anita, if you liked that in Guy Gabriel Kay's work, Cruciel's Dart, that's what I was trying to think of. That's him, right? If you like that, I think you might like this historical fiction. And I'll wait for the wrap up to go into it. But yeah, excellent. Ooh. All right. Well, I've got all my information for the description. I have the Patreon book club happening Sunday on the 29th if you want to join for Greenwood by Michael Christie, which seems pretty good so far. I am on Twitter. You saw my book banner. That's my little logo. And you can buy my books through Smashwords or your local independent bookshop because I'm in the catalog, or on Amazon. So lots of different ways, not yet on audio because that requires like a leg and a first child. And I don't want to lose a leg and I don't have a first child. So you're out of luck on the audio. But hopefully you're starting off this weekend right. Going to have some nice booktube time, have some nice reading time, work on those hobbies, enjoy that free time. And yeah. Jim says, Northanger Abbey was a leftover from Jane Austen July, and I read Tom Sawyer and The Gambler by Dostoevsky. Huh. Okay, that's not, maybe The Gambler was a tome chapel. Interesting. Thanks for stopping by, Joe. Have a good day. Not Kay. Crucial Start is Jacqueline Carey. Oh, maybe it's the covers. Maybe it's the covers that I have mixed up in my mind because they're similar. Sorry. And Jim has 5-star books this month already. Yeah, I saw that on Instagram. Inhuman Trafficking and We the Drowned. Oof. Impact in those titles, man. Cool. Well, thank you so much for tagging me, Jim. Thanks for stopping by to say hello, putting me in your tag as a prompt. That's sort of special. And I'll see everybody again soon. Thanks for tuning in. Have a lovely weekend.